Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan and on this video I'll be predicting the entire 2022 World Cup. Before we get into today's video, please smash that subscribe button and also turn on that notification bell if you're new to my channel. Odds are if you're watching this video, you really love sports, and also drop a like on this video. The 2022 World Cup will start on November 20th with 32 teams and they will compete in 64 matches. So let's get into the video. Starting off with Group A with Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands. The Qatar national team has never qualified for any single World Cup since the country's independence in 1971. They are hosting the 2022 World Cup and therefore qualify automatically for what will be their first appearance in the finals. The team has appeared in 10 Asian Cup tournaments and won it once in 2019. The club currently ranks 50th in the world rankings. The Ecuador national team hasn't qualified for the World Cup since 2014. The 2022 World Cup will be their fourth appearance after missing out on the World Cup 4 years ago. They made their first World Cup in 2002, followed by qualifications in the 2006 and 2014 World Cups. Their best result in a World Cup was in 2006 when they advanced to the round of 16. The club is currently ranked 44th in the world rankings. This will be the Senegal's national team's third World Cup appearance, along with the 2002 and 2018 World Cups. Their best result was in 2002 when they took the world by storm by upsetting the reigning World Cup champions France. And then in the group stage, they finished second behind Denmark, advancing to the round of 16. They beat Sweden 2-1 in sudden death in extra time. In the quarterfinals, they fell to Turkey 1-0 in sudden death in extra time. They are the highest ranked African team in the Men's World Cup rankings at 18th, and they have potential to make a run to the quarterfinals or further. The Netherlands national team hasn't qualified for the World Cup since 2014. The team has made 11 World Cup appearances and their very first appearance came in the 1934 World Cup. They have reached the World Cup finals 3 times, in 1974, 1978, and in 2010 without ever winning one. The club is currently ranked 8th in the World Cup rankings. So for me, here are my Group A predictions. Now with Group B, with England, Iran, USA, and Wales. The England national team hasn't missed the World Cup since 1994. England has qualified for the World Cup 16 times and they are one of 8 nations to have won the World Cup. They have won 1 World Cup title and they won that in the 1966 World Cup, a tournament that they also hosted. England is currently ranked 5th in the world rankings. The Iran national team has made 6 World Cup appearances in 1978, 1998, 2006, 2014, 2018, and in 2022. They have never managed to get through the group stage at the World Cup, and they have only won 2 matches against the United States in 1998 and Morocco in 2018. The club is currently ranked 20th in the world rankings. The United States national team hasn't qualified for the World Cup since 2014. The team has made 11 World Cup appearances and their very first appearance came in the 1930 World Cup. Their best result in the World Cup was in the 1930 World Cup when they finished 3rd. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 16th in the world rankings. This will be the Wales national team's second World Cup appearance and their first was in 1958. In 1958, they reached the quarterfinals before losing to the eventual champions, Brazil. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 19th in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group B predictions. Now with Group C, with Argentina, Poland, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. The Argentina national team has made every single World Cup since 1974 and they haven't missed one since the 1970 World Cup. They have made 18 World Cup appearances and they have won 2 World Cups in 1978 and in 1986. In the 2018 World Cup, they made it to the round of 16 and finished 16th. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 3rd in the world rankings. The Poland national team has made the last 2 World Cups in a row. They have made 9 World Cup appearances, and the 2022 World Cup will be their 9th. And their very first appearance came in the 1938 World Cup. Their best result in the World Cup was a bronze medal in 1974 and in 1982. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 22nd in the world rankings. The Mexico national team has made every single World Cup since 1994, making them one of 6 countries to do so. The team has made 17 World Cup appearances, and their very first appearance came in the 1930 World Cup. Their best result in the World Cup has been reaching the quarterfinals in both the 1970 and 1986 World Cups, both of which were staged on Mexican soil. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 13th in the world rankings. The Saudi Arabia national team will make their second straight World Cup appearance in a row. They have qualified for a total of 6 World Cup tournaments, having played in the 1994, 1998, 2002, 2006, and in 2018. They will compete in the 2022 World Cup. Their best performance was in 1994 when they reached the round of 16. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 51st in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group C predictions. Now with Group D, with France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. France is the defending champion of the 2018 World Cup, where they defeated Croatia 4-2 in the final match. The France national team has made 16 World Cup appearances, and they have won 2 World Cup titles in 1998 and in 2018. Their first World Cup appearance came in the 1930 World Cup. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 4th in the world rankings. Australia has made every single World Cup since 2006 after missing every one of them from 1978 to 2002. The team has made 5 consecutive World Cup appearances in a row, and it has made 6 World Cup appearances overall in 1974 and from 2006 to 2022. Their best performance in a World Cup was in 2006 when they reached the round of 16. In the 2018 World Cup, they didn't get out of the group stage and finished 30th. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 38th in the world rankings. The Denmark national team has qualified for the last 2 World Cups in a row. The team has made 6 World Cup appearances, and their very first appearance came in the 1986 World Cup. Their best result in the World Cup was in the 1998 World Cup, where they made it to the quarterfinals and they finished 8th. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 10th in the world rankings. The Tunisia national team will make their 6th World Cup appearance in the 2022 World Cup. Their first ever World Cup appearance came in the 1978 World Cup, where they finished 9th out of 16. Between 1998 and 2006, they qualified for 3 straight World Cups, and they wouldn't qualify again until 2018. However, they have never been able to advance from the group stage. They have played 15 games, winning 2, with 4 draws and 9 defeats in World Cup competition. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 30th in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group D predictions. Now with Group E, with Spain, Germany, Costa Rica, and Japan. The Spain national team has made every single World Cup since 1978. Spain has made 16 of the 22 World Cups, and their very first appearance came in the 1934 World Cup. They are one of only 8 countries to have ever won the World Cup, doing so in South Africa in 2010. That was the first time that the team had reached the World Cup final. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 7th in the world rankings. The Costa Rica national team will make their 6th World Cup appearance in the 2022 World Cup. Their first ever World Cup appearance came in the 1990 World Cup, where they finished 13th. Their best performance in a World Cup was in 2014 when they reached the quarterfinals and finished 8th. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 31st in the world rankings. The Germany national team has made every single World Cup dating back to 1954. Germany has made 20 World Cup appearances, and they have won the World Cup 4 times in 1954, 1974, 1990, and most recently in 2014. Their first ever World Cup appearance came in the 1934 World Cup. The team has a strong squad that's capable of fighting for a World Cup title in 2022. In the 2022 World Cup, the Germany national team is currently ranked 11th in the world rankings. The Japan national team has qualified for the last 7 World Cups in a row. Their first World Cup appearance came in the 1998 World Cup, and Japan has made 7 World Cup appearances. Their best performance in a World Cup was in 2002, 2010, and 2018, when they reached the round of 16. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 24th in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group E predictions. Now with Group F, with Croatia, Morocco, Canada, and Belgium. The Belgium national team has made 14 World Cup appearances, and they have qualified for the last 3 World Cups in a row. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 14th World Cup appearance. Their first World Cup appearance came in the 1930 World Cup, where they finished in 11th place. Their best performance was in the 2018 World Cup, where they finished in 3rd place. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 2nd in the world rankings. The Canada national team has qualified for the World Cup for only the 2nd time in history, ending a 36-year drought. Their other occasion was in the 1986 World Cup, and they finished as the 24th place team. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 41st in the world rankings. The Morocco national team has made 6 World Cup appearances. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 2nd consecutive World Cup appearance in a row, and their first World Cup appearance came in 1970. Their best performance was in the 1986 World Cup, where they reached the round of 16. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 22nd in the world rankings. The Croatia national team has made 5 World Cup appearances since gaining independence in 1991. And before that, from 1930 to 1990, Croatia was part of Yugoslavia. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 3rd consecutive World Cup appearance in a row and their 6th World Cup appearance overall. Their first World Cup appearance came in 1998, and they have made 6 of the 7 possible World Cup tournaments since they got their independence. Their best result was in the 2018 World Cup, where they reached the finals and lost 4-2 to France. The team is currently ranked 12th in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group F predictions. Now with Group G, with Serbia, Cameroon, Switzerland, and Brazil. The Brazil national team has qualified for every World Cup they've entered, never requiring a qualifying playoff. Their first ever World Cup appearance was in the very first World Cup in 1930. Brazil is the most successful national team in the World Cup, being crowned 5 times and most recently in 2002. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 1st in the world rankings. The Serbia national team has made 12 World Cup appearances. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 2nd consecutive World Cup appearance in a row, and their first appearance came in 1930. Their best result was in the 1930 and 1962 World Cups, where they finished both in 4th place. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 21st in the world rankings. The Switzerland national team has qualified for every single World Cup since 2006. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 12th World Cup appearance overall, and their very first World Cup appearance came in 1934. Switzerland's best performance at the World Cup was making it to the quarterfinals 3 times in 1934, 1938, and in 1954. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 15th in the world rankings. The Cameroon national team will be making their 8th appearance at the 2022 World Cup. The 2022 World Cup will mark their first World Cup appearance since 2014, and their first ever World Cup appearance came in the 1982 World Cup. Their best performance was in the 1990 World Cup, where they reached the quarterfinals. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 43rd in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group G predictions. Now with Group H, with Ghana, Uruguay, South Korea, and Portugal. The Portugal national team has qualified for every single World Cup since 2002. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 8th World Cup appearance overall, and their very first World Cup appearance came in 1966. Their best performance in a World Cup was in 2018, where they finished in 3rd place. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 8th in the world rankings. The Ghana national team has qualified for their first World Cup since 2014. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 4th overall World Cup appearance, and their very first World Cup appearance came in 2006. Their best result in a World Cup was in 2010, where they reached the quarterfinals. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 61st in the world rankings. The Uruguay national team has qualified for every single World Cup since 2010. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 14th overall World Cup appearance in their history, and their first World Cup appearance came in 1930. They have won 2 World Cup titles in 1930 and in 1950. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 14th in the world rankings. The South Korean national team has qualified for every single World Cup since 1986. The 2022 World Cup will mark their 11th overall World Cup appearance in their history, and their first World Cup appearance came in 1954. South Korea's best ever performance in a World Cup was in the 2002 World Cup, where they finished in 4th place. In the 2022 World Cup, the national team is currently ranked 28th in the world rankings. So for me, here are my Group H predictions. Now this is the time for the round of 16. The first match is the Netherlands versus Wales. These two nations have never faced each other in the World Cup in their history. The Netherlands have made 11 World Cup appearances in their history. The team has reached a record of 3 World Cup finals without ever winning one in 1974, 1978, and most recently 2010. This will be Wales' second World Cup appearance in their history. Their first appearance came in the 1958 World Cup, where they reached the quarterfinals before losing to the eventual champions Brazil. So my prediction is that the Netherlands will win this match over Wales, and they will move on to the quarterfinals. The next match is Argentina versus France. Argentina and France have met each other 3 times in the World Cup. In those 3 World Cup matches between these two nations, Argentina has won 2 matches and France has won 1 match. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 2018 World Cup, and France won that match 4-3. Argentina has won 2 World Cup titles, and their most recent one was in 1986. They have made 18 World Cup appearances out of the 22 World Cup tournaments. France is the reigning World Cup champions and will be looking for their second World Cup title in a row in this World Cup tournament. Team France has won 16 out of the 22 World Cup tournaments, and they have won 2 World Cup titles in 1998 and in 2018. So I have Argentina winning this match over France, and they will advance to the quarterfinals. Now the next match is England versus Senegal. England and Senegal have never faced each other in the World Cup in their history. England has made 16 World Cup appearances out of the 22 World Cup tournaments. They are one of 8 nations to have won the World Cup, and they have won 1 World Cup title in the 1966 World Cup, a tournament that they also hosted. This will be Senegal's 3rd overall World Cup appearance in their history. In those 2 other World Cup appearances, they have made it out of the group stage just once in their very first World Cup appearance in 2002. So I have England winning this match over Senegal, and they will advance to the quarterfinals. The next match is Denmark versus Poland. Denmark and Poland have never met each other in the World Cup in their history. The 2022 World Cup will be Denmark's 6th World Cup appearance overall. In those 5 other World Cup appearances, they have made it out of the group stage in 4 of the 5 appearances. Denmark's deepest World Cup run was in the 1998 World Cup, where they made it to the quarterfinals and they finished 8th. Poland has made 9 World Cup appearances out of 22 World Cup tournaments. Their deepest World Cup run was in the 1974 and 1982 World Cups, where they finished 3rd both times. So my prediction is that Denmark will win this match over Poland, and they will move on to the quarterfinals. The next match is Spain versus Belgium. Spain and Belgium have met each other 2 times in the World Cup. In those 2 World Cup matches between these two nations, Spain has won 1 match, and there has been 1 draw, and Belgium has won none of these matches. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 1990 World Cup, and Spain won that match 2-1. Spain has won 1 World Cup title in the 2010 World Cup. They are one of only 8 countries to have ever won the World Cup, and Spain has made 16 of the 22 World Cup tournaments. The 2022 World Cup will be Belgium's 14th overall World Cup appearance in their history. Belgium's deepest World Cup run was in the 2018 World Cup, where they finished as a 3rd-place nation. So my prediction is that Spain will win this match over Belgium, and they will advance to the quarterfinals. The next match is Brazil versus Uruguay. Brazil and Uruguay have met each other 2 times in the World Cup in their history. In those 2 World Cup matches between these two nations, Brazil has won 1 match and Uruguay has also won 1 match. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 1970 World Cup in the semifinals, and Brazil won that match 3-1. Brazil has qualified for every single World Cup since the very first World Cup in 1930. They are one of the most successful national teams in the World Cup, being crowned winner 5 times in 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, and most recently in 2002. Uruguay is a 2-time World Cup champion in 1930 and in 1950. Since then, their most recent best performance in a World Cup was in the 2010 World Cup, where they finished as a 4th-place nation. So my prediction is that Brazil will win this match over Uruguay and they will advance to the quarterfinals. The next match is Croatia versus Germany. Croatia and Germany have faced each other once in the World Cup in their history. That 1 World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 1998 World Cup, and Croatia won that match 3-0. Croatia has made 6 out of the 7 possible World Cup tournaments since they got their independence. Their deepest World Cup run was in the 2018 World Cup, where they reached the finals and lost 4-2 to France. Germany has won the World Cup 4 times in 1954, 1974, 1990, and most recently in 2014. They have made 20 World Cup appearances out of 22 World Cup tournaments. So I have Germany winning this match over Croatia, and they will move on to the quarterfinals. The next match is Portugal versus Switzerland. Portugal and Switzerland have never faced each other in the World Cup in their history. Portugal has made 8 World Cup appearances out of the 22 World Cup tournaments. Their deepest World Cup run was in 1966, where they finished in 3rd place, and their most recent deepest run was in the 2006 World Cup, where they finished in 4th place. Switzerland has made 12 World Cup appearances out of the 22 World Cup tournaments. Their deepest performance at a World Cup was making it to the quarterfinal 3 times in 1934, 1938, and 1954. So I have Portugal winning this match over Switzerland, and they will move on to the quarterfinals. So now let's go to the quarterfinals. The first match in the quarterfinals is the Netherlands versus Argentina. The Netherlands and Argentina have met each other 5 times in the World Cup. In those 5 World Cup matches between these two nations, the Netherlands have won 2 matches and Argentina has won 1 match, and there has been 2 draws. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 2014 World Cup. So my prediction is that Argentina will win this match over the Netherlands and they will move on to the semifinals. Now the next match is Spain versus Brazil. Spain and Brazil have met each other 5 times in the World Cup. In those 5 World Cup matches between these two nations, Spain has won 1 match and Brazil has won 3 matches, and there has been 1 draw. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 1986 World Cup, and Brazil won that match 1-0. So my prediction is that Brazil will win this match over Spain and they will move on to the semifinals. The next match is England versus Denmark. England and Denmark have met each other only once in the World Cup, and this matchup would be the second one in their history. That one matchup between these two nations was in the 2002 World Cup in the round of 16. England won that match 3-0 over Denmark. So I have England winning this match over Denmark in a really tough battle between these two nations, and England will move on to the semifinals. The final match of the quarterfinals is between Germany and Portugal. Germany and Portugal have met each other twice in the World Cup in their history. In those two World Cup matches between these two nations, Germany has won both of those matches against Portugal. In the first ever match between these two nations was in the 2006 World Cup, where Germany won that match 3-1. In the most recent World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 2014 World Cup, and Germany won that match 4-0. So my prediction is that Germany will win this match over Portugal in a really tough battle between these two nations, and Germany will move on to the semifinals. Now let's go to the semifinals. The first match in the semifinals is between Argentina and Brazil. Argentina and Brazil have met each other 4 times in the World Cup in their history. In those 4 World Cup matches between these two nations, Argentina has won 1 match and Brazil has won 2 matches, and there has been 1 draw. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 1990 World Cup, and Argentina won that match 1-0. Argentina has won 2 World Cup titles in their history, and their most recent one was in 1986. Brazil has won 5 World Cup titles in their history, and their most recent one was in 2002. So my prediction is that Brazil will come away with the victory over Argentina in this amazing matchup between these two nations, and Brazil will move on to the World Cup final. The second match of the semifinals is between England and Germany. England and Germany have met each other 5 times in the World Cup in their history. In those 5 World Cup matches between these two nations, England has won 1 match and Germany has won 2 matches, and there has been 2 draws. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 2010 World Cup, and Germany won that match 4-1. Germany has won 4 World Cup titles in their history, and their most recent one was in 2014. England has won 1 World Cup title in their history, and that was in the 1966 World Cup. This match between these two nations will be a tough matchup, but my prediction is that Germany will win this match over England, and Germany will advance to the World Cup final. The World Cup final is between Brazil and Germany. Brazil and Germany have met each other twice in the World Cup in their history. In those 2 World Cup matches between these two nations, Brazil has won 1 match and Germany has also won 1 match. The last World Cup matchup between these two nations was in the 2014 World Cup in the semifinals, and Germany won that match 7-1. Brazil will be looking for their 6th World Cup title in their history in this match. Germany will be looking for their 5th World Cup title in their history in this match. The winner of the World Cup final will be Brazil over Germany, and Brazil is my 2022 World Cup champions. And I also believe that the Germany team could go far in the tournament this year if things work out, and they will surely be back in the future. So those are my 2022 World Cup predictions. Who do you think will win the 2022 World Cup this year? Let me know in the comments down below. Before you leave, please smash that subscribe button and also turn on that notification bell if you're new to my channel. And if you love sports, this is definitely the channel for you. And also please share this video with more sports fans. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Nathan. I'll see you guys all in my next video. Just keep loving sports.